to talk about. You're going to tell me all about the exciting project you've been working on for how long now?
Well, it started in 2013, October,
Okay.
so.
All right, so just 2
Yeah.
years now.
Yeah, the project's pretty much finished at this point. We've now got our financial aid group, which was the last of the stakeholders that we were going to bring on.
Can you just just say your name, what your role
Sure.
is here, and like what the project was called or what you called it? Or
That's good. Those are good questions. My name's Chris Tyler. I work at Arizona State University at the main campus. My role now is manager of strategic process and business development. Big long word, but it really started. I was the project manager for bringing back our ASU help desk. Initially, for 17 years, 18 years at the time when I first came onto this project, I had worked at the Cary School of Business for 18 years as director of IT.
So you had a long time to really understand would you say like the culture here at ASU?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, and I think the other reason was that I had started a help desk at WP Cary School of Business.
Okay.
Very small, but still one that was recognized on the campus. And so when the university made a decision to bring a help desk, and I would say really the first time they really brought a help desk, because when they were initially doing a help desk, it was like student workers, a few full-timers. It mainly focused on IT type support. They outsourced it in probably 2003, 2004, somewhere in that time frame, and it stayed outsourced for about 9 years. And out of that 9 years of being outsourced, problems continue to just manifest itself. Every year they do surveys, or throughout the year they do surveys, and customers were complaining that they didn't feel like the customer really cared about them. It was just more about getting an answer. So after really trying to get to the customer, it's not always resolution in their favor, but it's about, do they feel like you care about listening to the problem and helping them through their problem? And I think that was the key that these outsourced groups could never really ever overcome. The president for ASU continued to get complaints. Registrar was complaining. Student accounts was complaining. The IT, the faculty, the staff. So everyone was just not happy with an outsourced help desk. So they decided to bring it back. So back in this case means bringing back the opportunity to serve ASU's customers in a way that ASU felt like it was ASU's people handling their customers, bringing back, because they had outsourced it, because as you know, and so then outsourcing, that's when we use the term bringing it back, was bringing back the service that had been given to others to perform. And because the outsourced companies that we used were failing miserably at bridging that gap, bridging that point where the customer felt like this person, when you start bringing local people back to handle your support that understand the surroundings in the community, you establish a little bit more of a relationship there. Because now you have the opportunity to bridge that missing gap that outsourcing really loses, especially to customers that had their own help desk at that time. So they did a lot of work to try to separate themselves from ASU. So,
right.
Go ahead.
So, no, that I think that's really key because in leading a project, you have these things that you're using and the stakeholders are using to measure whether you're meeting the goals of the
Right.
project, right? And some of them can be really dry and sort of clinical and measures, and they certainly need to be done, but in terms of our deadlines being met and
Correct.
our budgets, staying reasonable, and the impact that it's having on the rest of the organization, and the how much personnel you're taking from the
Right.
the available pool and all these kinds of things. But this ability to always have this thing out there to compare what you guys were doing,
Right.
to compare, here, that's them, this is us, that's them, this is us, that's them, this is us. How would you say that, maybe not written into the project plan, but just that was always there, and it was always this like influencing thing on the project? How did that?
Well, I think you're talking about the cost that can't be identified.
I love that phrase.
Because it's how do you put a cost on customer service? You know, how do I measure how much did in my interaction with you, did that really bring a monetary value back to the organization, in our case for ASU? It's a very difficult thing. Most people look at the numbers. How many calls did you answer? How quick did you answer the call? Those are metrics that you can look at, but did it tell you that the customer is fully satisfied? Of course, that's why we have surveys to try to get customers to tell us how they felt. But unfortunately, as industry standards show you, that only about 5% of all the surveys you send out, only 5% are going to be answered. You're only going to get about a 5% return. So you really don't, where's that other 95%? How do you measure? How do you get a feeling for what's happening there? And we really now want to consider strongly standing up our own help desk that supports our stakeholders, that supports our students in a way that now we want to recover those hidden costs, which is we want to start recovering the damage done by all this outsourcing for years. We want our customers to start realizing that we do care. And so that's when, you know, they brought me over and I started talking with the deputy CIO and the AVP for projects. And they decided, hey, you'd be the perfect candidate to bring this project back to us.
Hindsight, how do you think this whole last couple of years might have played out, if you and the group you were working with at WP Carey hadn't already done your own internal help desk?
Oh,
Like if that experience didn't already exist within the ASU University, so let's just say that that wasn't there, and we're still looking at a situation where WP Carey, Ira Fulton School of Engineering,
right.
all the individual colleges and schools were still in the same boat. They're all, you know, struggling with and not happy with the outsourced help desk. But there wasn't this already, you know, this already successful effort within ASU.
How do I think it would have played out?
Yeah. Like what if you hadn't been there, and whatever the factors were that led to you guys doing that at WP Carey hadn't.
So in the sense
Come
of
about.
they would have continued outsourcing?
Well, no, but they're
Or
getting
bringing
all
it
these.
back?
They're getting all these complaints and like, yeah, we got to bring it back. Let's
Okay.
look into that. How then from that point forward, if they didn't have your prior, because your project was like a prototype.
Right, exactly. That's a good point. It was, Carrie had done a successful job. And I think it was when I even talked to the CIO and was mainly I worked with the deputy CIO, which was John Rome, and Deb Whitten, which was, you know, the AVP for projects. That was one of the things in our conversation was, you've already done this, Chris. You've already been very successful at this at WP Carey. We want to do that. It's going to be a much larger scale. And I think that they understood that my emphasis was on customer service. The problem that I think that would have been faced, and again, I'm not saying I'm the only person out there that can, you know, bring customer service back. I mean, there's a lot of individuals out there that understand customer service. But I think one of the things was the driver I kept saying was, one of the things we do is we don't hire this for the skill of handling IT or a skill for handling this. We hire a person who has that customer service character It's a character it takes to deliver customer service. Do you have what it takes that you really can be empathetic with a problem? Do you have what it takes to put yourself in that person's shoes and say, okay, how I'm going to interact with that person is how I want to be interacted with if I was in their place. It's not something you can teach people. We can talk about it. We can even have classes on it. People can take tons of notes, but at the end of the day, is it who you are? Do you really care about people? That's the kind of people I wanted to hire. And so that's the kind of people I hired at Cary when we brought our help desk, or I had our help desk. And that was the kind of people I was telling the people at UTO, which is the organization that handles the help desk, that we wanted to hire for this upcoming help desk. And that's exactly what we did. We brought people. I brought my manager, the person who was my manager at the Cary School of Business, and brought him over immediately to help, as I was bringing the help desk back, to do the hiring. Because he knew what I wanted. He knew that really what we needed was this type of individuals. It doesn't matter. I can teach you human resource. I can teach you the technology, how to handle and support people in technology. I can teach you how to handle people who are needing financial aid advice and etc. But I can't teach you how to be someone who really cares.
So what you're saying is this is a set of innate skills that
Exactly.
human beings have that can't be taught, is what you're saying.
It's over the years it's been very difficult for me to, I mean, there's things you can help people maybe that necessarily they don't understand, and you bring some clarity to customer service, but over the years it's been very difficult for me to find people that we've hired them thinking, oh, they'll be okay, and then they just wind up, they're either too rushed or they just don't know how to be empathetic about the customer's problem. It's about just getting the answer to them and getting them on their way, and who's the next person. There at that point knew what customer service was as well.
Right.
And
they believe, they had the same belief that there are people that are just more suited to this kind of
exactly.
profession.
Exactly.
And
that's
what
you're
you're
looking
saying
for is those kind of people who can really read people and know how to put themselves in that environment for them. You know, put themselves in their place.
Right. Right. Instead of just treating them like a number.
Instead of another number,
right,
or how quickly can I get
right.
another call going. Obviously, you know, when I said that, it made me think that one of the things we do have to deal with sometimes when you hire those kind of individuals is they do want to talk too much.
I see.
They do engage too much because they're very personal type of individuals. And so you have to also help them understand the fact that, okay, that's great, appreciate you really caring about the customer, but you probably could move this call along a little further if you stick more to understanding what their problem is instead of talking about your grandkids, or because those are the kind of things that can happen. You know, you can get very customer service oriented people who like to talk, who like to engage, but then they engage and get very distracted. They get on rabbit holes or rabbit trails, as they would say.
Right.
They go off, and so they miss the real need of solving the problem. So there's some other issues you have to deal with that. But I would rather deal with those issues than trying to teach someone or trying to explain to someone why they are not really helping the customer because of their relationship that they express over a telephone. And they don't understand it sometimes. They thought, well, I just gave the answer, but it's how you gave that answer. It was your voice inflections. You were robotic, or you really weren't empathetic. You wasn't listening. You know, those are the problems that you have. So people, those are the kind of characteristics we were looking for, and those were the kind of characteristics we had hired at WP Cary. And so when we were going to bring back the help desk to ASU, if that's, we use that term, that's what we wanted to start this off with. Let's get a foundation of people who really have the character that want to help people. We'll teach them the skills.
Excellent. Let's move to talking more about the the project itself and
Sure.
like the project management. What were the project management challenges that that from your perspective,
Sure.
and how you approached them?
Well, it's important to note that I got hired October 14th, 2013. Now, I knew 2 weeks prior to that when I first talked to John and them that this is what they were looking to do, is bring the help desk back. One of the challenges was ASU, at the same time that they're now making the decision to have their own ASU help desk, they're also bringing in Salesforce CRM and an enterprise solution because they want to be able to better track their students. They want to have a better means of collecting data in a more centralized way, because in a university of our size for so long we were very fragmented. W. Carey had their own homegrown database tracking their students. Fulton had their own database tracking their students. The registrar obviously tracking undergrads in a very antiquated database. So here you have all these entry points that are coming into the university. So they made a decision to start trying to centralize these from a very fragmented university to become more centralized. These two things are going on at the same time. They're wanting to bring the help desk back. So October I'm brought on, they're going, okay, Chris, you're going to have to bring a help desk back, and it's got to work with these two enterprise systems.
And those were moving targets because those were projects
They were bringing them at the same time.
Wow, that was really ambitious.
Yeah, very ambitious. It was scary because most the help desk we had ran at WB I didn't have to worry about other enterprise systems. Picked the tracking system. That's where I was tracking my tickets, and that was it. But now I was being told, your group is not only going to be handling calls that are coming in, that you're going to store information in Salesforce, but if it's a technology issue and if it's for employees, you're going to be putting that information in ServiceNow. And immediately, as a project manager, but also as someone who had been a director, I was thinking, that's crazy. That is, I'm going to have help desk people that are going to have to use two enterprise systems to track information, and I was really concerned with that. So that was right out of the gate, was how were we going to overcome this big change at ASU where they are trying to centralize things, but because they have two different customers that they're supporting with two different visions, because from a student standpoint they want a 360 view, from a faculty and staff employees they wanted to better handle the infrastructure so that if employees had a problem, it could be quickly identified and other issues could be resolved as well that maybe that employee didn't realize. So we had that. The other challenge was the scope of this project was to bring back, at that time initially, we were looking at bringing back the financial aid group, human resources, the IT group, and our student information services, as well as just general information services. So those four major stakeholders were coming back, which was, as we ran the numbers, and of course the numbers we were getting at the time were from the current outsourced provider, how many calls were coming in, etc. I knew we were looking at anywhere from 90 to 120 people. Where were we going to put them? And in 2013, and still to this day, and probably any campus that you're at, you just don't have a place to automatically stand up and house 120 employees. That's a pretty large facility that you're trying to carve out of an existing infrastructure. So where were we going to stand these people up? We're going to have to go off campus somewhere. We're going to have to could we be on campus? So that was another challenge, that where were we going to be? And then the next challenge, and the most immediate challenge at that time facing me and the executive management that was working with me, was we didn't have really an ACD system. An ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution System.
So you started out the project, and the constraints that were handed to you is you've gotta do this project, and these two other big major things were going
Are
on.
going
We're
on
gonna
at
get a
the same time.
whole new
I gotta integrate in
enterprise-wide.
there. Okay.
Yeah, you've
Integrate
gotta
whatever I'm
integrate
doing
with
into
this
those.
ServiceNow, and which
Salesforce.
was a whole new thing, and then Salesforce, which was a customer resource management 360, right?
Right.
New enterprise system, which it wasn't even replacing an existing one because the university didn't have a enterprise
There was
wide.
pockets of Salesforce in the university, but
But not
not from
enterprise
enterprise.
wide. So you had that, and then you had the challenge of you gotta hire all new staff, and where are they gonna be located? But you didn't have the telephone kind of technology system
no telephony infrastructure there.
for that the staff was gonna be able to use. That was gonna be new.
And then the final one
Okay.
has to be done before the contract ends on our current outsource provider, which was July 1st, 2014.
Wow.
So October 2013, mid, July 1st. I know I had only about 8 months. 8 months to go from having nothing, to having a help desk operational and performing. And not just performing, but trained. And integrated with Salesforce and ServiceNow. So that was it was pretty daunting. I sat down at the moment I started that. I remember the first day. Sat down, I worked probably 12 hours that day working on just trying to outline everything I could possibly think of. And, from breaking it down from, okay, I need location, I need infrastructure, I need software, and so I started breaking it down so that as I start working as a project manager, your work breakdown schedule, you're starting to break it out, okay, how am I gonna work these things in and what's the time gonna be?